Okay, get a cup of coffee, sit back, and let me read the newspaper. It's a noose around your neck. So we're going to go to March 31st, 2020, USA Today, the money section. And the big headline on money section is employees strike back. Now remember, some of the most important thing in reading magazines, newspapers, are the photographs and diagrams and pictures and things like that. Now words can be important because there's always a play on words, a pun on words, and so forth. But basically the words are just made up gibberish. And if you look at the photographs, you'll be able to discern it immediately. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take you to the photograph, and supposedly this is just a reporter coming by, and these dudes are just standing there participating in the big strike. They're striking back at Amazon. All right, so I'm going to take you closer, and then I'm going to go up with my pointer and point some things out to you. Okay, I hope you can see that well enough. And so what I'm going to do is get a little closer and generally point some things out to you, and maybe I'll try to have some close-ups, okay? So first of all, take a look at the man in the blue. And there's a lot of blue here. Take a look at his fingers. It's the devil fingers. Alright, and if I do a real close-up on that, you'll see they're like warped and distorted and deformed. So I'll try to do that for you. And notice he's got his hands on certain letters. That's another key. And I'm not sure of the first letter, but I think it might be a B and then E and L. I think it's a play on Bel or Baal or the devil. Bel, Baal, Baal, B-A-L, B-A-L-L, B-E-L, anything of that nature is a pun and a play on the Hebrew word for the devil and the false god in the Old Testament, Baal. Now notice also that they're standing on brick. See how he's got one foot on a brick, okay, on the curb? And he's got one foot on the curb. So they're giving you a Masonic code anytime you see bricks. Now I want to tell you something. If you were out just standing around in front of Amazon, would you say, gee, I'd like to have one foot on this curb? And if you're this dude, would you say, you know, I feel best if my one foot is in the air and it's touching the curb? Now come on, think about it. Is this how you would stand if you're holding a poster? No. In fact, this reminds me of playing baseball when you wanted to be on the base but yet be headed to the next base. You just kind of touch that bag a little bit with your foot. Or if you're the first baseman and you're trying to stretch, this might sort of be like a first baseman stretch. He's touching the curb, and he's touching the curb. So they're both doing that. They're throwing a code at you. Alright? Now the next thing I want you to notice is he's holding his cell phone, and that's because all the stories, most of the time, they have people running around with cell phones in their hands, and they're trying to communicate the idea, you better get this on your cell phone, you better tell this to someone. This is the idea of communication. Communicate the idea to others. Don't be all by your lonesome self. Make sure you notify your neighbor. Make sure you tell your coworker. Get the word out. The coronavirus is killing people everywhere. In the U.S., in other countries, in the entire world, people are dying from a corny virus. All right, now, let's go to this individual here. First of all, I want you to notice his eyes. He's got like a super heavy dose of makeup, all right? That's not natural. Look at how those eyes are accented with makeup. In other words, this is stage. This is a prop. These are actors, all right? And as actors, they're dramatizing something through the nonverbal. Now, carefully, if you look at the band on his head right here, this is purple. And purple is the blue and the red mix. So you got a mixture of colors, the blue line and the red line, sort of like your two pillars, combining, and then you get the purple. So they're combining things together to give you a story. It's a story made up by storytellers. All right? That's all they're doing, is telling you a made-up story. But the public thinks it's real. I know you probably don't, because you're watching this channel. Now, the next thing I want to draw your attention to is his jacket. And he's got on the NASA button, or the NASA logo, all right? And incidentally, I might be able to show you at some later point in time that in the Hebrew language, the word for deception is nasa. Nasa, all right? So NASA or NASA is just simply a reiteration of a Hebrew word meaning deception. And you notice too, the red streak on the NASA logo looks like the serpent's tongue, all right? So you have a serpent's tongue, and you have deception written right here. Now they're telling you up front, and that's by their Kabbalah, by the rules of their evil trade. They have to tell you. So they'll tell you in a very disguised manner that they are deceiving you. All right? They are deceiving you through their staged hoaxes. Okay? So you notice this is supposed to be a big employee strike back, but we only see two dudes. We only see two yo-yos. All right? The two yo-yos are right in the public's eye, and that's about it. Now, that's about all I see right there. Okay? Now, if you want to waste your time, you can read the stories and go on and on with the words, the lies, and everything like that. So I want to take your attention to the upper right corner, which is the man who's seated in the bench with his mouth shut, just reading a paper, but the back of the paper shows the coronavirus. And you need to be hungry for more news. And if you haven't noticed, you get something in the mail about coronavirus. You get something in the mail about COVID-19, coronavirus. You get something on the newspaper about coronavirus. You get it everywhere, 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 everywhere. Now, why is that? Because the more things are repeated, the more likely the brain is to say, well, it's been repeated over 900 times, therefore it must be true. Now, that's false, okay? Just because something's repeated doesn't mean that it's true. And incidentally, that is a form of brainwashing. You just keep saying it over and over again, and then the person accepts it as true just simply because they don't want to hear it anymore, and the brain begins to agree with this because it's been given over and over and over again. Now, up in this corner, we see about China, and once again, they're wearing costumes. It looks more like a rain jacket to me with a mask over. And this guy's holding a cell phone. Again, the idea, take the story and reflect it and get it out. And that's your 33. You accept the story fully. That's the 3. And the other 3 on the 33 is you get it out. You're now the mouthpiece. You now are the reporter telling everybody. Okay, you want to shout it out from the housetops that Corona's here and is destroying not only America, it's destroying Europe, it's destroying all countries in the world. This is a major, major, major virus, and everybody's going to die from it. So let me try to zero in on some of these things for you and talk a little more about them, because I know that from the camera point of view, you just are seeing the whole newspaper. Now I'm going to try to get in on that NASA sign on the man in the middle, okay, and show you that. Okay, there you are. There's your NASA, the Hebrew word, which literally means deception. So maybe you never knew that. He's got that on his jacket because why? He's a deceiver. And he wants to do what? Deceive you. Now here's another interesting thing about this. And what I find interesting is, if you look at the photo, I apologize for all this, again, my style and my ability to make them is not as good as the rest of the folks on YouTube, but I think I've got some good points to make. All right, now, if there's a major crisis, right, and if this virus is just floating in the air everywhere, and any breath you take, you could breathe it in, okay, why is there one dude with a mask on and gloves, and the other dude is acting like, who gives a hoot? I don't care what air I breathe, and I don't care about my hands. So he's without a mask and he's without gloves. Now the other man has the mask and the gloves. Now which is it? Okay, which is it? If you're so threatened and everything that you touch is so deadly, then the gentleman in the blue with the cell phone in hand, he should have a mask on, right? He should have gloves on, right? If they're so worried about coronavirus at Amazon in the warehouse where they work. So it's all just a big hoax, folks. Now let's go up into the far corner, the right far corner, and let's see what you're supposed to be doing. This is supposed to be you and supposed to be me. Okay? Just sit back, read your papers, be quiet, be like this gentleman with the ball cap on his head, and just absorb it all. Don't dialogue with it, don't refute it. Just be hungry for more, quote, news. The newspaper that puts the noose around your neck, all right? So that's supposed to be you, and that's supposed to be me. Now let's do a little history, okay? Let's go to China. Oh my, yeah, China's an evil place where all these hoax viruses originate. And by the way, did a little bit of research on the Great Plague and so forth, and they're saying, oh my gosh, it came from China, even back to the Great Plague. So China's kind of labeled the virus hoax origin place on many of these dangerous viruses that kill off large numbers. So once again, back to that photo, you see the man standing with the cell phone up in his hand saying, oh, please, let me record you so I can send this recording on my cell phone to thousands of people and get the news out on other people's necks, all right? So the gentleman's just seated there is in a costume. It looks more like a rain suit, and he's got a mask on, so it must be really deadly, right? Because he's wearing a rain suit and a mask. All right? So let's come down to what might be sort of the hidden real idea behind all of this, and that is down here. Well, guess what? That man is loading groceries. And where do they come from? Amazon. Huh. Isn't that interesting? So even though the two yo-yos are center page, protesting and striking, which not really, they're just people that have been paid to stand around and look like they're striking and to put on some costumes and do some stuff that what they're told by the director of this show. And then here's someone very diligently loading groceries. Now let's see if we can get a close-up on the groceries and find out where they come from. There's your hero. There's your hero in the story by pictures. Amazon Prime. They're the hero because why? They're sending out groceries, and they're all sanitized, by the way, and they are making sure you get your food or whatever you need. And even though there's supposed to be a strike going on, hey, nothing stops Amazon Prime, right? There it is. Okay? And it's going into the car, right? So that's the message that the producers really want to get out. Is called product placement. So the product placement is there in that little section. And you, in a way, you don't even really have to read the words in the newspaper. A lot of times, if you just take a look at the symbols, you'll see and do some pictorial analysis. And that's what I'm hoping to try to teach you, my viewer, to do a little pictorial analysis. Now let's go down into the far corner, and this is kind of also connected to the corona hoax, and that is economics and Wall Street and Treasury and stuff. And so what they're showing you are the two pillars. And in the Masonic rituals and Masonic literature, and their whole ways are based on the two pillars. And the two pillars are just simply dualism, and it's expressed in many forms and many fashions in what are called the mystery religions. So that's at the bottom of the page. So let's go back and just sort of look at the newspaper again. Okay, there's your whole newspaper. And you don't really have to waste your time reading the articles. You can, but you'll see in the words too a lot of hoax codes and a lot of pun on words and things like that. Now, I used to be what you would call a news junkie, and I would, thrive on getting newspapers and priding myself on reading newspapers and priding myself on watching national news, local news, and all that. But what I want to tell you now is you don't have to bother. You don't have to bother. It is all bunch of fairy tales with actors, okay? And I'll show you in some other analysis of newspapers so that you can someday basically do what I'm doing and learn to dismiss this channel for channeling evil spirits into your mind. And you can dismiss it very simply once you learn how to look at things, and once you learn what they mean, and once you learn how to say it is all trash and it belongs in the trash. So thank you for watching, and this is the end of the video.